Hi students, I am Dr. Sushil. I am from Department of Artificial Intelligence under Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Chitkara University. In this coming series of lectures on programming paradigms, we shall be primarily discussing about three programming approaches. One, the traditional structured programming approach. The second one that bit came later, that was object-oriented programming. And the third one, which is coming out right now, that is functional programming. So what exactly is the difference in the approaches? What was the pros and cons of each and every approach that forced us to just follow the approaches like from object-oriented programming to functional, why we actually had gone into like these approaches. So we shall be discussing about each and everything. And if you see the environment, we have got that there are a lot of languages falling in these three categories. Like there are certain languages which fall under structured programming. All were like in the traditional time when we started with the approaches with BASIC, Pascal, COBOL and C language. Those all were following a structured programming approach. And then we thought of like it as the end of life, but it was not. And then came in the cons of that structured programming, and we found out that there can be a better approach, and we got that in the form of object-oriented programming. And we got the languages like C++, and then Java, and then we have some kind of approaches in Python also that was called an object-oriented programming language. And there are many other programming languages which are being used as object-oriented. And then we found out that there still can be some solutions which can increase the performance of the programs. So that was functional programming, and that came out within Python. And Python was the first language that became popular in the paradigm of functional programming. And slowly right now, we are feeling that Java is also following some kind of programming approaches from functional programming. So we can say that Java is object-oriented as well as it is functional too. So Python is also like the same. It is functional as well as object-oriented. So by calling all these languages by their category, what do we actually mean? So what as a programmer or a developer finds, or what kind of solutions or the instruments that we get in from the languages in order to build applications. And we also need to know as a developer which programming approach is the right one in order to build our applications. So whole industry is right now growing and finding out the solutions on these three basic programming approaches. So we shall start from the first approach. We need to know what was the cons of that. So we shall start with the structured programming, and we know that in the structured programming we failed to get in to match the variables or the things that we are using in programming to match with the real kind of objects. So if we need to create some kind of real-time solutions, we needed to have some language which can relate with the real-time objects. So that was the shortcoming of structured programming. We could not create a student like a variable. We could not create an employee like a variable right in. So we were not given a choice in order to create a variables of our own type. So basically it has a kind of abstract types which we needed to create. So then it was a need, and that was filled in by object-oriented programming. So object-oriented programming was the one that allowed us to create our own type of objects. That was the best benefit or the advantage we can say that we got in from object-oriented programming. So that was allowing us to create objects of our own type. And then we got in the functional programming. So that functional programming was something that said like, why not? Why only the entities? Why only the type of objects that should be created? There are other things which are needed within a program like functions, which are the most important part of a programming solution. So what is a program? What is a function? So in functional programming said, why not? We can assume that the function is also an object. And inside a function, how the functional approaches, how the function is executed, the implementation of a function can also be created in the wholesome approach of using objects. So functional programming language just dips into object-oriented programming and gives us solutions that can better the approach. So that was all a simple testimony about all these three approaches. In the coming lecture, we will be allowed to, and we will be seeing what exactly a solution looks like within a structured or object-oriented or in a functional programming approach. So we will meet in the next lecture. That's it.